everyone! Welcome back to Shactors Create Character. My name is Legend Moore, and my mom, Rakisha, is going to be joining us on our very first book review!
Awesome. Well, I'm excited. I know you are. And we are going to be talking about A Whale of the Wild. So as we're going into this book review, the thing we're going to do first is I'm going to be asking Mr. Legend here some of the questions. I mean, he's so cute and so fabulous. And so I'm going to be going into some questions with him. And then I'm going to share some of my thoughts and opinions about the story as well. So let's get started. So, Mr. Legend, what was the story about?
Well, it was about a family of orcas living in the Salish Sea. Their names were Vega, Altair, Aquila, Deneb, Great Mother, Mother, and Uncle Wriggle. There were a series of events leading their family apart. Some reconnected and some were not found. But at the end, they kept searching.
Awesome. Look at you. I love the answer. Well, with that being said, you said that there were some events that made the family come apart. So what was, say, one event that caused that separation in the story?
The bridge falling.
Okay. Well, what about that? Elaborate a little bit.
The bridge falling meaning the earthquake that made the bridge fall, separating them. Mm-hmm. Vega had a sister named Capella that wasn't alive during birth. So she laid her far, far away from the others, and Deneb went looking for her. Uncle Wriggle helped Deneb find her, but Deneb was all by himself. He didn't find Uncle Wriggle again, but he met a stranger. Mm-hmm. He freed him from the fishing net, and he swam along. Mm-hmm. He grunted, but he didn't know what he meant, because he was a seal-eating kinship. Because Vega's family are salmon eaters.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So what Legend's talking about, and again, I encourage you guys to please watch Legend's channel and see all of the stories that we read through together within the book, A Whale of the Wild, because one of the events was Vega's mother. She was with child, or she was pregnant at the beginning. And when she gave birth, the daughter did not make it. So what happened was Vega was very upset. And so when she got upset, she took Capella, which was the daughter's name, and she kind of just wanted to keep her for a little bit longer before they let her go. And that's part of the story, was a very heavy part of the story. And I think Legend and I both had a really hard time reading through it. Yes. And so, but again, it's just one of those events that kind of, started the chain of events that happened thereafter. So it definitely was a major part of the story. So yeah, great job answering that question.
Thank you.
So the next thing I want to know is, what is something now throughout the book, who was narrating the story? Who was telling most of the stories?
Vega.
And whom else?
Deneb.
Deneb is who?
Vega's brother.
So what you guys will find.
Vega's little brother.
Yes. And so what you guys will see also is that in parts of the story where Vega was kind of on her own and going about her journey, you will notice that she's narrating those parts of the story. And then in the midst of that, Deneb is doing what? He is
trying to find her.
Correct. So he's looking for Vega. So then in certain chapters, he is narrating the story, basically telling his journey as they go along as well. Good. Well, excellent job answering those questions.
Thank you.
Is there anything else you want to add about something you took away from the book?
Not that I can think of right now.
Okay. Well, awesome. Well, I like that you shared your thoughts and answered the question. So 2 thumbs up. Well, there we go. All right. So the other thing that I want to go into is that for me, one of the takeaways that I got from the story was it was not a very kid-friendly book. It was very good in terms of, going into talking about what happens in life that you just can't predict. You can't see things coming. And so so the story talks a lot about some of the real struggles that we go through in life. So one of the major things that I took away from the story was also character development. So one of the big things is, like, as you talked about, the character of Vega. She was the main character and who the story was mostly centered around, right? Mm-hmm. And so with her, I noticed that she went kind of from sure of herself, and then she grew into a very sure and assertive person, right? And so what I mean by that is in some of the examples in the book, so I'm going to go to some of those examples. So Vega was actually training to be the next wayfinder.
And she was a very fighting wayfinder at the end.
Mm-hmm. And so what she is, so wayfinder in terms of, the orca sea life, that's a person that kind of leads the pod to the different destinations for food, safety, shelter, right? And so with that being said, she was going to be the next wayfinder next to her mother and her mother's mother, right? So at the beginning of the story in chapter 3, this is kind of like gives you an idea of how Vega thought of herself. So the first part is, what if Mother or baby Capella had gotten hurt? They are better off without me. Aquila is the one they need. She will be a perfect wayfinder someday. So that was her comparing herself to her cousin Aquila.
And that wasn't right, because she has to believe in herself in order to be a great wayfinder.
Correct. So that was one example of just kind of how doubtful she was of herself. And then as we move along into the book in chapter 17, here's a quote here where she basically was taking care of her brother Deneb when they finally reconnected at some part of the story. And so she says, how could I have promised him food? What was I thinking? I have no idea where the salmon are. None. And so she was very doubtful because she felt like she was failing Deneb in basically leading him to food after they had been weeks without eating. And so that was another piece of it. But it started to turn when they had been away from their mother and great mother for some time.
And that's definitely sad for everybody.
Yes, so they were in a very hard place. They hadn't eaten in months, it seems like. And so now Vega started to feel like, you know what? I am going to take care of us, right? So in chapter 19, at the very end of chapter 19, she says, when I wake, I know what I must do. Know it as I know my own name. Because she took a lot of pride in the family that she came from. Mm-hmm. And so in that moment, she knew that she can no longer be scared. She can no longer be fearful about where they're going or what they've done or what has happened. And she has got to strengthen herself to be the wayfinder that she has been built up to be. And so with Vega, again, her entire journey just starts to grow, and you can just see that growth throughout every single chapter. Yes. So it was really cool. I really
enjoyed this book. On a rating, like on a scale of 1 to 10, mm-hmm. How do you feel about this book?
I think I would give it a solid 8. I give it a solid 8. What about you?
To be like,
and you mean honest, 10, and you mean 10 meaning the best perfect book ever.
Yes.
Okay.
This is, I'm being honest. Mm-hmm. I give this one a 9.
Okay. That's even better. Yeah.
Yeah. And I'm being honest.
Yeah, that's awesome. I mean, of course. So I wouldn't doubt that. But again, that's something, again, for our opinion, we really enjoyed it. The one thing we weren't aware of is it wasn't really a kid-friendly book.
Yes. It was gifted by us from my grandma, mm-hmm. and she just thought it was like a kid-friendly book, mm-hmm. Because, doesn't that look kid-friendly?
Yeah, because it has like the cartoon drawing of whales on the front of it. And so she gifted the book to this little guy here. And yeah, it was, but it was still a great read because, he'll be going to the 5th grade. And so the book, in terms of the level of reading, it was on level for a 4th, 5th grader.
Yes, and we did make a lot of mistakes throughout the way, but
that's okay.
It's okay. You just laugh through it.
That's right. That's right. So we definitely recommend you guys, of course, first and foremost, going to our the rest of our videos and listening through the story and kind of experiencing the reading of the story with us, and then also encouraging you to go out and get the book. It's
a very good book.
Yes,
it's by Rosanne Parry.
Yes, so it's by Miss Rosanne Parry, and again, it is a pretty cool book. I'm looking at the price here, and it is only $7.99 US dollars, and I think it's only $2 more for Canada. So again, if you guys are, wanting to get into a good read, and another thing about the story is it does go into a lot of environmental issues, and I found that pretty cool. Yes. So yeah, it talks
the lack of oil they put in the diesel fuel and stuff they put in the ocean. Mm-hmm. That's not good for the animals.
Right.
All of them.
Right. So we think, because just recently I went on a trip not too long ago, and I was on a pontoon boat. And because I read this story, I couldn't help but think of the level of pollution that goes into the ocean when we're enjoying a fun time on the ocean, right?
Yes.
And again, I wasn't even nowhere near thinking like that until I began to read this book.
And all you whale watchers out there, mm-hmm. Remember, it's pretty cool to watch whales jump out of the water, but also remember, you're ruining their environment by watching them like that, and the boat is coming in and scaring them away mm-hmm. from their home.
Correct. So, and that's something, again, I will be very honest, I was not thinking like that prior.
Me neither. Mm-hmm. I used to think, when I looked online and all those, whale watching videos, I thought it was pretty cool, petting a whale. But actually, you were just, we're disturbing them by doing that.
Mm-hmm. And again, so that's just a little surface of the things that they talk about in the story. The biggest thing I also didn't realize is that when storms hit and boats are knocked over and they're, shuffled.
It releases, diesel fuel into the ocean.
Mm-hmm. So it releases that fuel into the ocean. And, again, sometimes the cleaning efforts happen. And then other times, it just stays in the ocean and it will stay there for several years. So again, it's just something that really basically opened my eyes to things that I honestly did not think of when I think of the ocean and the sea life that lives in it. So again, if you want to just have a good read that kind of literally takes you on an emotional roller coaster, and in a good way, in a good way. It's some good dose of love. It's a good dose of funny and silly. Another good dose of a little bit of sad, and then dose of a little bit of fear, and then also a good dose of encouragement. At the end of the day. So I feel like it gives you a little bit of everything, and it's a wonderful book to read with your family. So yes. We encourage you to do that. But that's all I got. Anything else you want to add?
Not really. Not that I can think of right now.
Okay. Well, that's all we got, and thanks so much for joining us. And
for our first book review.
Yes, and we hope there's more to come, and you guys have a good rest of your week.
Bye.
Bye.